Tēnā koutou e hoa ma. This is the slideshow that was shown on Wednesday and Thursday nights at the classes, Te Reo Māori lessons that are held at the Morrinsville Baptist Church here in Morrinsville. So this is our weekend from the 16th to the 18th of March 2018, where we held a hangi for the students. Pretty much so the students could be a part of the different processes and learn about the different process of putting down a traditional Māori hangi. And so we had different ones come out to the house and help out at the church organising this event. And so the first part of our preparation process was the collection of wood, and our kaioko Tūrangawa Waikiwi, who hails from Tauranga Moana, was gracious enough to go and collect us some native wood and load it into his van and bring it along to my place. And so I also went and got some pellets, because I like burning pellets, because they're easy to burn and they help the native to burn. And so this is my daughter Rain, who is in the process of unloading the van and taking all the wood into our shed at my place. So me and her are doing that process of it. So on Friday afternoon at my place, I've invited people to come around about 1 o'clock to help dig the hole and prepare the hole for the so we light the fire over it, heat up our irons or stones. And so this is that process of digging the hole. So a couple of the students have come around my place. We've got Charles in the background in the green there, and we've got Paul Vesta, who you might recognise from the Morrinsville Chemist. He used to own it with a partner, and so that's them. A couple of the students that have come out to help me dig the hole. So we're hard at it, digging the hole. And so that's the hole finished, and I've told the lads to jump inside so I can take a photo of them inside it. And so that's pretty much our oven in the ground. So the next part is up at my place, and so this part takes place at night, which is a bit too late for students to come around, because we're up until about 1 o'clock in the morning doing all this, preparing cakes, stuffing, done the night before because there's so much of it, salads, and because they need to go in the fridge and cool down overnight, and fry bread. So the process of starting to cook fry bread is done on that night, and it carries on through to the next day. So this is my daughter. This is her creating, getting ready to bake cakes. So she cooks 5 big huge cakes for our dessert after our hangi. And this is her here. This is her here wrapping up her cakes and stuff like that. And there's my other daughter in the background doing making stuffing. She's breaking up 25 loaves of bread for our stuffing. And so this next part is my daughter's still making stuffing. My daughter in the background has since finished doing her cakes, and she's making salads now. She's making a surimi salad at the moment. And there's my son in the yellow singlet at the background peeling potatoes for our potato salad. Excuse me. And so this is my daughter still breaking up bread, 25 loaves worth, still going. And this is my other daughter, who is mixing all the surimi salad mix all together. And so we've done 2 big containers, or actually 3 big containers of that for our classes. So we're catering for 150 people roundabout. This is my son here, who's peeling 2 sacks of potatoes just for potato salad that we have with our hangi. Yeah. So he's hard at it, peeling potatoes, a whole heap of them for our potato salads. This is my brother, who is cooking fry bread. In the end, yeah, so the Friday night he's cooking fry bread, and this is part of the process of making the fry bread, making the dough, and then putting it in a frying pan and cooking them. And this is what they look like, and they taste beautiful. And this is my daughter still breaking up 25 loaves of bread. I think she's on about loaf 5 there. So she's busy and hard at it. And so there it is there. We've done a couple of chili bins full of fry bread. And so this is part of the process here. You can see this brown grate in there. So we've streamlined our stuffing making, and we grate some of the bread. We break some of the bread, so it makes it a little bit faster. And this is her now adding. We've already added thyme and stuff like that. This is her now adding the carrots to the mix. Saturday morning at my place, preparing the hole for the fire. So I usually leave the fire burning for about 2.5 hours just to heat up our irons nice and red hot, because essentially they're our element for our oven. So when you turn on the power for your oven, you get power. To do a traditional hangi, you've got to light the fire and heat up your element, which is essentially the irons or the stones for your hangi. That's where we draw the heat from. And so this is some of the students the next morning who have come out to my place to help us stack wood over our hole for our fire. And this is one of the ladies. There's another lady on the right in the background that you can see there. That's Holly's mum. And so they're breaking up some, screwing up actually I should say, some newspaper to light our pellets. And so this is them putting pellets in, and we're also in the process of putting some native inside the pellets, some kindling native to get our fire ablaze. And so this is that same process still going on. And so here we have it, where it's all ready to be lit in. And yeah, I've just asked the students to gather around so I can take a photo of them of this process. And so this is us. We've lit the fire, and it's well and truly away. Little bits of paper here and there. It's still ready to light, but it's a little bit too hot in there now. And so this is it from another angle, and it's truly up in a blaze now. Yep, there's another shot of it. So if it's a cold morning, you can warm yourself around the fire while you're waiting. So this is Saturday morning at my place again. We're preparing the baskets while the fire's burning now. So we're getting our baskets ready, and so this is that process. So I've chucked these baskets on the fire just to sterilize them from the last hangi we have. That's a good way to sterilize it. Chuck it on the fire while it's burning to burn any excess meat or whatever's been left on the basket since the last hangi. And so that's how I sterilize it. And so the next process is some of the students are lining the bottom of the baskets with tin foil. This acts as two things. One, to keep the dirt out of our out of the hangi from coming in through the side of the grates, and also it helps to keep the heat inside the basket while the food's cooking. And so that's a few of the students doing that process. And this is us practicing our pukana. And you can see that they're holding a few cabbages there, and you can see in the baskets that we're lining the bottom of the basket with cabbage leaves. And so what that does, it helps the meat not to burn, and plus it tastes really nice when you're getting all the meat out and you eat that at the bottom, and it's lovely. Tastes lovely. So that's that part of the process. So meanwhile at the church, some of the students have come into the church to help peel potatoes and set up the dining hall for us to actually eat. And so I can't cater for 150 at my place, so we've come into the church to do all this next process. And so I've sent a team in there with my daughter, and my daughter's in charge of the team that's peeling potatoes and organizing the dining hall. And this is Rain and her team here. And so they're all hard at it, peeling potatoes, kumaras, pumpkin and stuff like that. And my daughter is to the right there, heading up the team. This is them still hard at work, and there's my daughter again on the left side. Looks like she's doing some kind of dance step there, but yeah. Actually, she's gone to grab a seat for somebody maybe. And this is the ladies in the background, still hard at it. Yep, still peeling. So they've got a few sacks of potatoes, a few sacks of kumara in that there. Because for 150 people you need a few vegetables. And so we're hard at work, or well, they're hard at work. And so you see they're so hard at work on the left hand side, but you see on the right hand side we've got one of our students, Clarissa, who was organising and helping to set up the dining area where we're going to be eating. So we're catering for 150 people, so we've set up the back of the church lounge marae style. And so she's helping out setting up tables and stuff like that. There's some more different ones in these shots here doing the same thing, helping out with setting up the tables and stuff like that. And so they're pretty much to the end stage of looks like they've finished peeling all the vegetables, and they've since somebody's put it all into a vehicle and heading out to my place with all it. And to the right is how flash our tables look. We decided to go plastic this year because we didn't want to be doing a whole heap of dishes afterwards. So we just pretty much chucked all the plastic dishes out, which is cool. So back at my place on Saturday morning, meat and veggies and stuffing getting ready to go into the baskets. And so we've got different ones extracting the meat from the plastic bags that they come in, and we're just placing those into our baskets. Just down to the bottom of the right screen here, you can see that. You can see some of the workers opening up these packets of meat, and some others putting them into the baskets there. So we've got about 12 big roast pork. We've got 15 size 18 chickens. We've got a couple of big lamb legs roasts, and we've got about 3 rolls of beef that are going into our hangi. That's just the meat side of things. And so, like I said, 150 people. That's a few people, so we thought we better buy enough food for everybody. And so this is still that same process happening at my place, with the different ones opening up and placing it into the baskets. And so that's it all there. And doesn't it look lovely? Beautiful. I'm hungry again already. And so now we're in the process, we're putting vegetables in that into mutton cloth, and our stuffing and all that into mutton cloth. You can see the white mutton cloth there, and that mainly helps to keep everything in the one place, so you're not rolling out bits and pieces of stuffing here and there. You can just pull out the whole lot of the stuffing, and you can pull out a whole mutton cloth full of potatoes, kumara, pumpkin, etc. So we're loading it into that, so we haven't got much trouble trying to find where everything is in the basket, as opposed to just having them in. And so that's what it looks like. All the meat on the bottom, then we got the vegetables in the next layer, and we got the stuffing on top. And so that just helps us grab everything out for quick exit from the baskets, if you will. And so that's a shot of some of the helpers that have come out and helped. And this is us practicing our pukana again. And so here's all our kai here. So yeah, so down here you can see all the meat, then we got our vegetables on the next layer, and our stuffing here. So yeah. So back at this is Saturday about 11:40ish. After the fire's been burning at least 2.5 hours, we're preparing to clean the hole out of the irons and some of the embers. This is one of the crucial parts of doing the hangi, and it needs to be done with speed just to retain the heat in the irons. And so this is the hole ready to be cleaned out. And this is us just contemplating, and I'm just sharing that the hole can get really hot, and that people need to put on pants as opposed to shorts, so they don't get their hairs on their legs all singed off, and on their arms as well. And there's our baskets again, ready to go into our oven. And here we go. So this is the process of us getting out the embers and some of the irons, and it's very hot inside there, and so we're relieving one another and subbing in and out, because you can only last not even a minute in there, not even 30 seconds in there, so it gets really hot in there. And so this is that same process. So we're getting all the embers out here. You can see some of the embers here, some of the embers there, and you can see how hot these irons are. You can see them glowing there, red. And so, yep, it's really hot. Some hot work in there. And so this is us still in the process. And here's our irons here. As you can see a couple of my weights in there. I've chucked those in there because I'm not usually catering for 150, so I've thrown a few weights to help get some more heat generated for our oven in the ground. And so this next process is this is one of my mates, Marker. He's saying, yeah, it really is hot in there. And this is another friend of mine, Jared, and he's going, you're telling me, bro? And I'm like, yeah, I told you guys it was going to be hot in there. And so this is us sweating it out and going, man, it's really hot in there. And this next shot is of our kaioko, and he's like, what are you talking about? This is a piece of cake. And so, yeah. And so some of us got hotter than others. This is me with my foot in a bucket of water, because my pants is actually caught on fire because it was so hot in there. So I've got a big burn hole in the side of my pants, and I actually thought I was getting stung by a bee. That's what it felt like, and I looked down, and next minute my pants was on fire. So that's me. And so this is us again, still clearing out the hole and getting irons and that out. Same again. And this is all us putting all the irons back in. We've cleaned out as much embers as we wanted to. I like to leave quite a lot of embers in there to give the food a nice smoky taste. And so this is the other crucial part, adding food baskets, covering and burying them, done with speed to retain the heat in the irons as well. And so this is that process. So we're in the process of putting the baskets into the ground. So there's our first basket that's gone into the hole. And this is our next basket. Couple of the students are coming over with the next one to put it in the hole as well. So we're placing it on top of the hot irons, and that acts as our oven element. And so there they are, ready to go. So this is our next part. We put a white sheet. This is what I do. I put a white sheet over the top just to keep a lot of the fur from the sacks out of the food. And then I always go to the warehouse and buy a cheap brand new sheet, because we don't want to use a second-hand sheet because we don't know what's happened on that sheet. So that's why we always buy a brand new sheet from the warehouse. They're only like $10. So get a brand new sheet, whānau, because you don't know what's happened on the other ones. And so the next process is we're just laying that sheet over, and there it is there. So the next process we're moving on to is actually putting sacks over the food, and that keeps a lot of the dirt out, and it helps retain the heat inside our oven. And so here's some of the lads putting the sacks on. And this is a speedy process that needs to be done as well, just to, you know, keep the heat in our irons and keep our oven nice and hot, retain as much heat. Now, as you can see here, some of my sacks have seen better days, and it looks like I need to upgrade on my sacks. And I didn't realise they were so puckaroo. So, but we had enough to cover our hole, and we did buy a few new ones, so it was a good thing we did. And so this is the process, and that's that process of putting sacks over the top, and they're wet as well to cause steam to come from the irons and the embers that are underneath. So it's in actual fact, it's like steam cooking your food. And so that's the process of doing that. And so this is us. As you can see, there's a lot of steam coming out now. So that's good and bad. It's good that it means that the irons are hot, but it's bad because a lot of the heat is escaping. So this is us in the process, burying it with dirt to keep all the heat in. Essentially what we're doing here is we're closing the door on the oven to keep the heat in. And so that's a very a process that needs to be done quickly. And so we're just about coming to that. So everybody's on speed mode, just so we can get it done fast. And this is pretty much it. We're pretty much finished now, covering that hole up, closing the oven on our the door on our oven. So now our kairako does a prayer for the day, for the kai, and for the festivities that are about to happen. So that's us there, giving thanks to God for everything He's provided for us. So some of the students, we call them the ringawera, the workers, finish the hard parts over. So I usually leave the food in for about 3.5 to 4 hours to make sure it's cooked. But because I've got 2 baskets in there, catering for 150, I've decided that 4 is the minimum for that day to pull it out. So I've asked people to come back. So this is about 12 o'clock. I've said, look, come back about 4 p.m. if you want to help pull it out. And so that's us after we've finished burying the food and essentially closing our oven door, and once again practicing our pukana. So meanwhile in the kitchen at my place, my brother is still cooking fry bread, hundreds of them. In fact, he ends up cooking around about between 450 and 500 fry bread for our event. And so he's hard out in the kitchen doing all that. So there's that same process, making more fry bread, cooking it again. So it's a very, very time consuming process, this part. And so that's us there. That's a big chili bin, and we've got 2 of those full of fry bread ready to be eaten at our hangi at about 5 p.m. that night. This is about this is Saturday afternoon at my place, about 4 p.m. when I've asked people to come back, and this is us getting ready to pull our kai out of the oven, or out of our oven we've created in the ground. That's us contemplating. You can see that the students are keen to get that food out of there. And so I've pretty much told them, you know, it's in there somewhere. You know, scrape the top off, get the sides away, and you'll find those baskets. So once again, I'm taking photos, and this is it. Steam starting to escape now. They've found the baskets, and now they're clearing all the dirt off the top of it. And all that steam you can see in the background there, that is the smell of that is just makes. We were hungry then. We wanted to have a kai then, and actually some of us did eat then. And this is one of our friends who came to support bringing the hangi out. One of my friends, Jade. So she's come out to support us. And this is back to the lads again, clearing out that hole of dirt so we can get our food out. And so as you can see, there it is right there. And yes, it's well and truly uncovered now. And so now what we're doing is we're peeling all the sacks off. Essentially, we're peeling it like a banana and laying it out to the side so it covers the dirt. So when we pull the baskets out, we're not going to get any dirt in our food. So we're like peeling it like a banana. So that's us there. As you can see, my sacks have had this. It looks like some of them have had their date, and so I need to replace them. And so that's some of the lads getting the sacks off the top and peeling them out like a banana, and that's it there. And so that's our food under there, and that's our nice clean white sheet you can see on the top of that food. And we're just peeling that off too, so we can get access to our baskets and get our food out. And so this is it here. This is all our kai in there, all nice and cooked. And so we're pulling these baskets out now, getting ready to there's a couple of the lads getting ready to pull it out. And so we've pulled out that hangi. And there it is there. And so that's our first basket that's come out. And here's our next basket, and this is my mate Mark in the background. Me and him are just going for a little jog with this basket. And this is us placing the second basket, getting ready to transfer food. And there's our baskets there. So these plastic containers in the background here, we're getting ready to transfer food into those plastic containers. But look at this food, lovely. It's all ready. Makes me hungry again right now. So I usually don't do this process. We usually grab food straight from the baskets and put it into trays to be eaten. But because we're transferring all the food to the Morrinsville Baptist Church to be eaten there, I've put it into bins so it doesn't leak all over their carpet. Yeah, because it gets quite juicy inside those baskets, and you will get a lot of leaking of excess fat that's melted around the meats and stuff like that, and you do get quite a drip, and from the potatoes and stuff as well, you get drip from all the juices. So we didn't want that dripping all over their nice clean carpet, and so we're transferring all the food from these baskets here into these containers that you see in the background here. As you can see, we've already put the potatoes, kumara and all that into these baskets already. And there's our meat there. Some of the meat is a little bit red, so because the Baptist Church has got some industrial ovens, we just chucked it into the industrial ovens. So 95 to 96% of the food was cooked, which is good. So even after 4 hours, there was still a little bit of raw meat in there, but not too much. So that's us closing up our containers, getting ready to transport them into the church, Morrinsville Baptist Church. And this is us. There's some hungry campers in the background there, you can see. They're all ready to eat right now. And so some of us are picking out the food just to make sure that it's cooked. We needed to make sure that it was cooked because we didn't want to give our manuhiri, our visitors, food that wasn't cooked, and our tauira or akonga, our students. So we're just making sure, yep, it's cooked. And we had to make sure the flavour was just right too, and it had that nice smoky hangi flavour that most Māori know well. And so some of the whānau contemplating the day's mahi while overlooking the empty hole. And so they're there just contemplating all the mahi that was done that day. And this is their shot, this is their view of it. So this is what they're looking at, contemplating what's happened during the day, I suppose. Not really sure though. And they've realised somebody's taking photos of them, so they're like, "Cheer, bro." So the cutting up of the meat. So since we've transported the meat to the church and we're getting ready to cut all the meat up, and so this is us cutting up meat in the back there. Hard at work. There's one of our trays we've already cut up, it looks like, over here. Our kaiako there. This is me here organising stuff, and this is another tray that looks like it's been filled. And so we're just grabbing meat out of here, putting it onto chopping boards and chopping it up, just getting all ready and prepared. This is us again, getting food, cutting the meat up. It actually took us about 3/4 of an hour to cut that meat up. It was quite a long process, and rightly so, because we had a fair bit of meat to cut up there. And so out in the waiting room, we've got some hungry guests waiting for a kai, and we're in here and they're all out here, and so they can smell the food wafting through the building, and so everybody's quite hungry at this time, and we're just about ready to eat our kai. So this is pretty much one of the only shots we've got of them in the silver trays, so I decided to add that in there. And now it's feast time. So we've had a little a call that the kai's ready, and for visitors and people, tauira, akonga, their families to come in and be seated and be ready to have a kai. And this is us here having a kai, the different tables going up, and so yeah. So this is all of us having a feed going up. So we've got 2 serveries open, and everybody's just enjoying the good kai and fellowship between one another. having a good kōrero, chat to one another. And this is a panoramic view of us. And so for most people, that process finished at the dinner that night. And so for me though, I had to do the cleanup, retrieve my irons, fill in the hole, clean baskets out, hang up my sacks and stuff like that, and pack everything away. So this is, I thought it prudent to show the last process. This is me getting my irons, looking for my irons in the hole and getting them out. So this is one of my irons here. So I'm searching for all my gear. There's some of the irons there. And the reason I use irons as opposed to stones is because you can only do a certain amount of cooks with your stones, whereas irons you can just keep on using them and keep on using them. So this is me again, a couple of shots of me filling in the hole now. And so I'm filling the hole in with dirt, putting all the embers back in there. So the tractor doesn't think, and that's pretty much it, all cleared up. And so yeah, this is me taking all my irons in that back. I don't know if you can see these tires, these spare tires in the background. No, not these spare tires. These spare tires over here in the background. We've used those on the Friday night to hold a tarpaulin that we had over our hole, just in case it rained that night. We weren't coming out to a pool. And so this is me packing all my stuff away. All the sacks hung up on the fence so they can dry out, so they don't go all mouldy. When you pack them away wet and go and retrieve them the following year, you'll find that all your sacks are mouldy because they were wet when they went back into the bin. So you dry them out first so they're nice and dry. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. So ka pai o tātou mahi e hoa mā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.